It rained last night, Poppy. Yes, Poppy was scared. I had to comfort the Poppy. There was thunder and lightning. And little small poppies get scared. And over here, you see a collection of wood that I've got here. And that is just to help keep the koi from jumping out. Nobody's ever jumped out, and I plan to keep it that way. But I have heard horror stories where people came and seen their big koi had jumped out of the pond during a spawning frenzy. So one can never be too careful. When the koi have been around for 22 years, I'd like to have them around for another 22 years. Koi can typically outlive their owners. That's why koi are typically willed. But I plan to outlive them all. Ha ha ha. I've got another 50 years in it, me at least. I don't plan on checking out anytime soon, even though I'm going to be 50 in a couple years. 50, where did the time go? I love that ball. My spinning ball. I've been working on this pond since I was in my 20s. It used to be different back then. It was a collection of smaller ponds, and before that it was only one pond. The very first pond used to be right here, but now it is the middle pond, and it's way bigger. Things change. I love my spinning ball. I am addicted to it. Look at how beautiful it is. It's stainless steel, 10-inch ball. And this stainless steel one is colored. Look at how beautiful it is. And there is another stainless steel ball, but this one is just silver. And that's an 8-inch, I believe it's smaller. But it creates a nice little flow in the water. It's good to have lots of water movement. And look at this, a nice big hornwort. The clumps are really growing nice and thick now. Come on, my little fish. Come to mama. Yes. I have to get the dog food. You ate it all. I gotta go steal from the puppies again. I feed them a very high quality grain-free puppy chow. They've been eating that for the last 10 years. During the summer only. Look at that beautiful marsh marigold. Oh, and that puppy chow is made right here in Alberta, Canada. It's none of this made in China stuff. It's toxic. The stuff in Alberta is super fresh. It smells super fresh. It's full of botanicals and farm fresh eggs and free run chicken. And it has bison and northern caught whitefish. It's all local, so it's fresh. And I trust local made food for my fish. All my fish eat it. Even the fish in the house like it. Like, come on. People pay way too much money for fish food, really. They pay way too much money on their pond. Okay, yeah, I know I do. But I refuse to spend $100 for a little tiny bag of koi food when they don't even like it in comparison to the farm fresh origin that I feed them. They love that food. And it's fresher. Sometimes when they stick a name brand on it, and a lot of that koi food is actually old. And it's probably made in China. And I won't feed my puppies or my fish anything made in China. Isn't that right, Poppy? Yes. I love my Poppy. They eat fresh meat all the time, too. And so do the fish. I feed them fresh meat whenever I find worms and juicy bugs. It's all part of their natural diet. And even in the wild, yeah, they're going to eat what falls into the river or lake because koi are carp. They are scavengers. There's nothing wrong with giving them a high quality dog food. Do you see anything wrong with any of my fish? They are never sick. They're never diseased. But I attribute that to the cooler water here in Canada. And I also attribute it to the water flows. The whole pond flows. It goes from the top pond down to the middle pond, and then it goes through this massive floating yellow flag, which is gets about 6 feet tall. It's about 5 feet now, and it cleans the water. I don't have any expensive, high-priced UV filtration. I have simple filters, pre-pump filters, big ones. And I have, you can see them right there. I think there's two of them hooked together. There's a slab of rock hiding it, sort of. But it's nothing extravagant. I don't have any fancy smancy filtration. And my water is always clear. I never have pea green water, although I've never taken the pond all apart in 20 years. If I have to fix a pond, I'll do one pond at a time. That way I don't destroy the ecosystem and then restart the flow again. Everything flows sort of like a creek from pond to pond to pond. And in the top pond, the water's always the freshest and the cleanest because all the waste goes down. There's a hole where the water goes down underneath the floating silver ball there, and it goes down to the middle pond where it spins the larger tricolored stainless steel ball. The spinning balls help to oxygenate and circulate. I don't have any fancy waterfall because if you have a large waterfall, a lot of people do this, they'll have a really big waterfall and not a big enough pump. And then it sits in the full sun. And as the water pours slowly over large slabs of rock, it actually heats the pond instead of cooling the pond. Whereas here the water does not pour over any hot rocks in the sun. I have my waterway, it's in the shade. This is driftwood to simulate a natural beaver dam. And then the water comes here. There's the water from the middle or the top pond. And the ball spins by means of centrifugal force. And that's what I call it. And it'll spin in the same spot. And the colors are unbelievable. And this is the smaller sized koi and goldfish. And I'm really enjoying the marsh marigold. Its performance is outstanding this year. Normally marsh marigolds, they're notorious for dying back to nothing and withering away in the summer. But we've had a cooler summer. I mean, we've had some hot days in the 80s, but nothing in the 90s yet. And it is in a shadier location, and the water is cool. So the leaves are big and beautiful. Marsh marigolds are an alpine plant. So you people up north must have one. And this one here is just planted in a basket. That's it. It's just, and it's been in the same, this marsh marigold is about 20 years old. I haven't transplanted it. I don't need a bigger marsh marigold. This is fine. It does just fine like it is. And some years, during a hot drought year, it won't perform too well. and it'll die back and won't be as big. And then you can hide it with other things that will do better on a hot year, like other floating plants or something else can cover the pot, like lilies. I don't have a lot of luck with lilies as I don't have enough hot sun and enough food for the lilies. The lilies here in my pond starve. Yes, they starve. Lilies starve because of the very powerful sedge, which is that yellow flag. It's done blooming now, but it'll continue to grow. It'll grow on a growing streak. Sedges, anything with a spear-shaped leaf like this, woolgrass bulrush, see, spear-shaped leaf, or the rushes, flags, irises, cattails, they're all sedges. And sedges are the most powerful for photosynthesis filtration in your pond. Photosynthesis filtration. My pond was black almost there for a while with the caterpillar dung. Caterpillar dung turns it a dark, dark color. And now the caterpillars are gone, and this massive floating yellow flag has filtered everything out. Yes, it takes a lot of space in this middle pond, but the fish can still swim underneath it and hide. And it shades the pond. It grows upright. It'll shade the pond without smothering the pond, like floating plants such as floating water hyacinths and lettuce, and even lily pads in the full sun. When they grow pad on top of pad on top of pad, it starts to smother the pond, and the pond will actually overheat the water, will act as a blanket, and a lot of the gases will not escape properly. So you have to be careful with those floaters, especially when you're down south. They can take over your whole pond, and then they can kill off the fish by smothering the fish. A lot of people don't realize this, although they think that the floating water plants are cooling it, but when they grow very tight, they're not. One year we had a really hot drought year in 1991 or 2, and in the early years of my ponding, and I had a small pond and it was covered in floating plants, and I couldn't keep no fish in that pond. They all died. No matter how many spitters I had, it was just too hot in the wrong spot, and I smothered it. But there's a beautiful little dragonfly. The dragon, oh, that's a damselfly. Where is it? Can you see the damsel? Damselflies are different than dragonflies because damselflies, their wings fold, whereas dragonflies, their wings are fixed. Damselflies and dragonflies are one of the top predators in the bug chain. They have not changed since the time of the dinosaurs. There's no need for them to change. Have you ever seen a baby dragonfly nymph hatch out of your pond? Those things look like monsters, and they eat a ton of baby fish. But that's okay. It's called natural pond control. And if you see here, in this large yellow flag, I'm sure there are lots of dragonfly larvae and damselfly larvae down there. But you see how the fish can swim underneath the yellow flag for shade and cool water and still have a large opening so that they are not smothered. That's my little poppy. You can see how large the yellow flag is. This yellow flag is like a 22-year-old clump, and I have divided it over the years several times. The thing is, the more you divide it, the larger it grows. I swear that's how it works with that thing. And I think it's impossible to kill. Although one year in my early years, when it was still in a pot, it was in one of those whiskey barrels that flowed through the pond. I had the pond set up different then, and it got crowded. And if the roots get crowded, it can die. But there's no crowding here because there's no pot. The plant floats, there's no soil. It's a massive root ball. It floats naturally. And in the wild, large yellow flags in their natural habitat will break off during a storm and float to the other side of the island and reattach itself. The bulbs are buoyant. They float. I love my new window. There's my new window in the garden. It's a peekaboo window into my secret world. You can see the old building across the street. It was an old school at one time. And there's my Canadian flag. Proud to be Canadian. Poppy, are you proud to be Canadian? Poppy's proud to be Canadian, and she loves to sit by the pond with her mama. I love my Poppy. I love my cobbled path. I did it all myself. If you do it yourself, there's a certain pride, a certain excitement that can't be replaced by having somebody do it for you. And when you start off with the pond, even though it may be a small pond, it's still a beautiful pond because you made it.